So I already did, a post-fight video the night of Spence Crawford when it ended. So I'm not gonna get too in depth on that, but I did want to talk about something that I saw in the epilogue, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this Jake Paul fight last night. Um, let's talk about the Spence Crawford shit first, since that fight was last week. Yo, every time that Spence dropped every time that Crawford dropped Spence, he fucking ran over to the ropes and started screaming at Charlo that, Charlo was next and yada yada. Man, I tell you, from the shit I've seen over the past 2 months with Bud and Charlo, bro, Charlo don't want no fucking parts of Bud. And I'm not even saying that in regard to the skill level, because, yeah, I think Bud beats him as far as, the skill level, but, somebody beating somebody else doesn't necessarily make me turn around and say, yo, Charlo don't want no parts of Bud, because I don't like to disrespect fighters like that, you know what I mean? There was plenty of people that whooped my ass that, trust me, I had no problem getting in the fucking ring with. And, I probably thought I was going to win beforehand, or didn't really care, or thought it would be a good fight, or, I don't give a fuck, I get in the ring with him anyway. So, I don't ever want to disrespect a fighter by being like, yo, Charlo don't want no parts of Crawford because Crawford will fuck him up. Because maybe Charlo don't give a fuck, and maybe Charlo will go in there and make it hell for Crawford even if Crawford winds up winning. But, bro, everything that Charlo is saying and doing, that motherfucker does not want no parts of Bud, bro. I've been seeing people asking Charlo about Bud, and he's like, oh, fucking, he got to get past Spence first or whatever. Don't even fucking talk to me about him. So, I'm not going to say Bud's annoying him or Bud's in his head, but he is getting annoyed by the constant questions. Are you going to fight, Crawford? Bud's been calling you out, yada, yada. So he's already getting in his emotions from people just asking him about Crawford. That could be taken one of two ways. That could be taken as, he's getting defensive because he really don't want to fight Crawford and he's sick and tired of being, forced back into that corner. Or it could mean that he just has grown to not like Crawford and he's genuinely getting annoyed. Like, yo, fuck that. Don't even talk to me about this dude. When he signed to fight me, then we'll talk about it. Kind of thinking that Crawford might be bullshitting or whatever. But, I mean, you keep saying that he's got to get past Spence first. I mean, he fucked Spence up, bro. So, he got past Spence with flying colors, and he seems to have his sights set on you, which I really think is the next best fight. I really don't want to see Spence and Crawford rematch, at least not at this time. My number one concern right now is Spence's health. I hope after the car accidents and, some of the things that he's done to his body and that beating that Crawford just gave him, I hope he's okay. I hope he could come back the same or better. But in my opinion, until he shows that, I don't really want to see a rematch. So let Spence move up to 154. Let him get acclimated with the weight. Maybe Bud moves up to... Maybe Bud's next fight is against Charlo, and he beats Charlo and he takes all 4 belts at 54. And then him and Spence rematch at some point in, a year or two for all the belts at 154. I would rather see that, if we're going to see it, than just see them go right back into this rematch. Spence has no shot at this rematch, especially if it's at 147. I don't think it's going to make a difference at 54. And when I say make a difference, I'm talking about in the outcome. Maybe it's more competitive at 54. Maybe it's a better fight. Maybe Spence comes back stronger. I don't know. That's all speculation, but I don't think there's any shot of Spence winning that fight, regardless of if it's at 47 or 54. But, man, just, Charlo's response to the dude, Crawford leaning over the ropes and you're next, motherfucker, and yada yada, and he looks at, he ain't even in my weight class. I gotta go fight Canelo. Like, yo, bro, you better get some energy, son. Because this energy that you're putting out right now shows that you don't want no fucking parts of Bud, and I could completely understand why, bro. But again, I don't want to put no fighters down. Charlo's a tough dude. He's a good fighter, but I don't think he beats Bud, and I don't think he wants no fucking part of Bud. With that out of the way, let me just touch quickly. I didn't make a prediction video or really cover anything on this fight because, as much as I've supported Jake Paul and all that he's doing, that was more of just a moral thing of me being clear, like, yo, I ain't hating on Jake Paul. But I did think, and I've discussed this in many other videos, I hated the clown show that was coming, the circus that was coming along with everything, with, Snoop Dogg announcing and them having these horrible, performances go on at the shows and having YouTubers boxing against regular boxers. All that shit, in my opinion, had to stop. I haven't really seen it go on too much lately, so that's a good thing as far as I'm concerned. But listen, man, I had no issue with what Jake was doing. Jake came from YouTube. Jake found a way to get some people some really big paydays. He got in the ring with some people that thought they could beat him up. One was an NBA player, one was a wrestler, one was a striker in MMA, and it went on, right? Cool. No problem, bro. Well, he's fighting MMA guys. Oh, okay. Well, he's a YouTuber, bro. So, I think if anybody has the advantage, it's the MMA guys, right? So, I really had no issue with it. You go and you fight Tyson Fury, Tommy Fury. Everybody was saying you were afraid to box a boxer, go fight a real boxer, this and that. Here's the thing, too, that you have to keep in mind. If you go from fighting Nate Robinson to fighting Ben Askren, shit like that, bro, listen, I'm not saying you're not working in the gym. I'm not saying you're not getting any better, but these are not building block fights. You know what I mean? You first couple of fights, maybe you fight a guy that's, that's under 500. And, maybe the next couple of fights, you fight a couple of dudes that are 500. You start getting into dudes with winning records. You start getting into dudes with good records. You start picking different kind of guys. You fight a lefty. You fight a guy that's really durable. You fight a guy that doesn't have a great record, but he's got a lot of experience. It goes on and on and on. And you build yourself up to becoming a champion and being able to handle anything that anybody throws at you. Jake Paul hasn't really taken that route, bro. The kid has no amateur career, which is, where everybody learns the basics and the fundamentals to apply in all these other scenarios that I was just talking about. So, Jake Paul didn't have that, so I didn't have any issue with who he came in and started fighting. And I don't really have any issue with the progress that he's making and the pace that he's making it at, but I do have an issue with the opponents. To me, you never got that fight against a boxer, an actual boxer, who maybe had 10, 20 fights, but not a great record. You never got that fight against a dude who was, maybe 500 or slightly better, 10-8. You know what I'm saying? Where Jake didn't learn how to implement certain things and learn how to deal with certain people when they're not going anywhere, or learn how to deal with certain basic fundamental things that boxers are going to do. That, no, this guy might not be great, but he's got a really good jab. Learn how to get away from a really good jab, or how to get around a really good jab, or how to get inside, or how to counter a really good jab and stuff like that. Like I said, he's in camp, and I'm sure he's learning these things, but it wasn't hands-on experience for him. So, do I think he should have took the Tommy Fury fight? I do. I think Jake's doing a great job at making a lot of money and making a name for himself. But as far as the way that he's progressing up the ladder, I don't think it's a great idea. You jumped into fighting a guy who has the Fury last name, obviously comes from a fighting family, was undefeated. I know that Fury didn't really fight anybody, and I'm not saying that Fury is the greatest boxer ever, but still an undefeated pro fighter. So you went from never boxing a boxer ever to jumping right into an undefeated Fury. So it was a big leap, you know what I mean? Even though Fury wasn't that great, it was still a big leap. And I thought, Jake made a good account of himself in that fight. I thought there were certain things that you could see he was lacking in certain areas and he needed to improve. Was he going to go forward and fight boxers? But he also showed some positive things, you know what I mean? He showed that he's obviously got a good chin. The kid, he's a tough kid. He doesn't stop fighting. He doesn't quit. He doesn't give up. He did score a knockdown with Tommy, which it was a balance shot. But, I mean, in order to score a knockdown off a balance shot, it's got to be timed perfectly when that guy's taking a step. So, I thought he showed some good things. I just thought that maybe if Jake was serious about becoming a world champion, maybe Jake should have went and fought a boxer that was 10-8 or something like that after the Tommy Fury loss. Then maybe you step up to a boxer with a winning record, and then maybe you rematch Fury or something like that, you know? To me, it seems like, and this is not a knock, I'm just calling things the way that I see them. To me, it seems like Jake is probably more interested in fighting fights where it's an easier win for bigger money. And even just saying that out of my mouth, it's like, well, who can blame the kid for doing that? Like, if you can fight person A and the difficulty level is a 7 out of 10 and you're going to make $1 million, or you could fight person B and the difficulty level is a 5 out of 10, you can make $5 million. I mean, you would almost be dumb at that point to fight person A. But I'm just trying to make a point here that if Jake really is serious about becoming a world champion and progressing as a boxer and getting to that level, I think maybe he should have made some other choices to see, you know, the only knock on the dude basically being, oh, he doesn't ever fight boxers. He turns around, fights a boxer and loses, and then he turns around and goes right back to fighting MMA guys. It's like, all right, the kid can't beat boxers. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not going to fight boxers. He's going to keep fighting these old big-name MMA guys and getting as big of a payday as he can, and then he's going to cash out and sail off into the sunset one day. And again, I can't blame him. I just have to point out what I see. As far as the fight itself is concerned, I don't have too much to say. The fight went pretty much exactly how I thought it was going to go. You know, Nate's a super, super, super tough, durable dude with a great gas tank. He proved that again last night. Jake won the fight. Jake is able to beat these older UFC guys in boxing matches. I mean, I don't think there's really too much mystery going on around that anymore, right? Like, if Jake signs to fight some 35-plus-year-old MMA guy next year, now, I'm not trying to be a dick, but do we think he's going to lose? Probably not, right? You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like, you know, there's got to be a different route if you really do want to get to that world championship level. You're not going to get there by fighting these old MMA guys. But, you know, I thought it was a good fight. I thought it was a competitive fight. I had Jake winning by 3 points. I had him ahead by 2 rounds plus the knockdown. So, I thought it was a little bit closer than they called it on the cards. But, I mean, that didn't really matter. I thought the right person won. No doubt about that. I thought Jake won the fight. There was another one that could have went the other way. So instead of 6-4 Jake, you could have had it 7-3 Jake plus the knockdown. So, you know, that's a 5-point swing right there. But yeah, like I said, I don't have too much to say on that, man. It went like I thought it would go. Nate Diaz is a tough dude, great gas tank, hung in there. As far as Jake Paul going to MMA, I don't know, you know, how serious he is about that. Nate Diaz, to me, doesn't really seem overly interested in Jake Paul, which is kind of weird because you would think that that's the only reason these guys are fighting is because they just genuinely don't like each other and they want to fight. So with you being an MMA guy, I mean, I don't know why in the world you wouldn't turn around and say, yeah, I'll fight him in MMA. You know, it's not that he said he wouldn't, but his energy just doesn't show me that he's really interested in it. And listen, I have no idea what Jake Paul can do in MMA. I've never seen Jake Paul wrestle. I've never seen Jake Paul throw a kick. I've never seen Jake Paul fight an MMA guy or anything like that. So maybe Jake Paul goes in there and gets absolutely waxed. I don't know. I don't really care. I don't even have much input to offer on that. Listen, if he does it, all credit to him, bro. He's a tough fucking kid. I think he's proved that time and again. He's a really tough kid. He can fight. And, whatever he wants to do going forward, he wants to do going forward. But if he really does want to take boxing seriously and be on a world championship level as far as boxing is concerned, he's going to have to start taking a different route with these fighters that he chooses. That's my take on everything. Peace.